Where are you going? You know that's going to cost me in therapy bills, so you don't have to stay. I spent a couple of days in New Jersey this week, and I'm not going to say anything negative about New Jersey right now. Except maybe just one thing. Can I say one thing about New Jersey? Okay. I think my biggest challenge is that I'm such a control freak that I really don't trust anybody who wants to put gas in my car for me. So I will do it in New York and I will do it in Delaware, but I will never, ever, ever, 100% never stop and put gas in my car in New Jersey. And that means sometimes that I'm willing to run out of gas on the highway instead of stopping and letting somebody else put gas in my tank. Just that. Anyway, I was in New Jersey for, I had a few days of meetings for the conservative movement. That's the Addis's sort of general movement affiliate for our denomination of Judaism, our Committee on Law and Standards. There is a committee of 25 rabbis from around the world who come together a few times a year to discuss matters of Jewish law and help the movement determine which way it will go in several areas. And when I came back from the meeting, Ariel asked me, he was like, what were you doing in New Jersey? And I said, well, I was at this law committee meeting. And I said what I just said. I said, I'm one of 25 rabbis from around the world. We come together a few times a year and we determine matters of Jewish law. And he was like, what? You get to determine what the law is? I was like, yeah. I guess I've never really spoken about it at home before. He's like, so you could institute a sushi night every other week? Yes, I can. Not because I'm on the law committee. But the law committee is an important space where these 25 rabbis, there's cantorial representation and there is lay representation on the committee as well. The votes are done by the rabbis. People present papers, we vote on those, we talk about the papers, we vote on those papers. So I want to give you a sense of what it was I spent talking about this week. Here, some of the questions for which there were papers written. In 2021, CRISPR technology was used to facilitate the first pig-to-human kidney xenotransplant. And in January 2022, the first pig-to-human heart xenotransplant was performed using 10 gene modifications. Is the use of non-human animal tissues, organs, and glands for grafts and transplantation in humans, xenografts or xenotransplantation, permissible by Jewish law? And if it is permissible, are there any restrictions or concerns? Here's another question that we had. What responsibility do investors have to investigate and take into account the business practices and social impact of the businesses they invest in? Many companies are known to exploit workers, damage the environment, engage in business lines that are halachically questionable, legally questionable, sell products that are harmful or behave in socially irresponsible ways. Is it forbidden to invest in such companies? Is there a positive obligation to only invest in socially responsible businesses? Does it make a difference if the investment is indirect, like through a mutual fund? Does it matter if the investor has a big enough stake to be able to influence corporate policy? Another one, from my subcommittee. I am the chair of the subcommittee on kashrut. What medicines may one take during Passover? The rabbis in the Talmud classified illness into 3 categories. Choleh sheyesh bo sakana, one whose illness is life-threatening or even potentially life-threatening. Choleh she'ein bo sakana, one who has an illness that is not life-threatening. And mechush ba'alma, one who has a minor irritation, like a headache. Which medications, based on the prohibitions of eating chametz, would be permitted? Here's another one. This one, David, this is how the question was framed. David, a man in his 70s, called me in the role of an old college friend, but also as a rabbi for counseling, the author of this paper wrote. His wife, Sarah, has had Alzheimer's for many years now and is long past being able to recognize either him or their adult children. She is living in an Alzheimer's unit of a local memory facility. Theirs has been a good marriage, and he feels responsible for her. He has made the arrangements for her care and pays for the part of it that their insurance does not. And though he is committed to her, he feels the loss of her ability to reciprocate his attention. He feels emotionally alone. Their adult children encouraged him to find another woman for companionship. What insights from Jewish law and Jewish values could help David navigate this stage of his life? Or, if he stays married and meets somebody else and retains his obligations and care for his wife, does Jewish law permit this other relationship? Another one. There is a new technology to create milk proteins from vegetable sources so that the final product would be physically identical to cow's milk, but not actually from a cow. A growing number of startups from Silicon Valley to Singapore are rapidly joining the race to create lab-grown milk. And unlike plant-based milks, such as soy milk and almond milk, this lab-grown milk contains the very same proteins as milk that are obtained from an animal. It's done using a precision fermentation process to artificially reproduce the proteins from curds, casein, and whey. In other words, for the first time in the history of milk, actual cow's milk proteins are being produced in something other than a cow. It involves no animals whatsoever. Is this product that looks, tastes, and feels like milk dairy? Which matters for cheeseburgers. And apparently, there are a lot of Jews who really crave chicken parm, though I will never fully understand why that is. It's like, do I want dairy with my fish? No, nor my chicken. Okay. How about another one? Is it permissible to donate one's body to medical education and science based on the principles of pikuach nefesh? It has long been understood that donating our organs to save somebody's life may not only be permissible, but likely required. But is it the same when there isn't an immediate outcome of saving one's life, where it may be years and years and years before the developments of that research come to fruition? Is it permissible based on the principles of pikuach nefesh, saving a life, and kvod hamet, respect for the dead, and nivul hamet, the not allowing a corpse to desecrate over time? Is it permissible, even though the general legal practice within Judaism is to bury the deceased as soon as possible and only allow autopsies in exigent circumstances? And if it is permissible and may be required to donate our bodies to science, to medical schools, when does the family begin the mourning process? The saying of Kaddish and Shiva, when there will be no burial. And should one choose a medical school that returns ashes, because that is usually what happens after the body has been dissected, so that there is something to bury in the end? One more. Given the advances and changes in the food science industry, this also came from my subcommittee, is Rabbi Isaac Klein's paper, in which in the 1950s he determined that all gelatin was kosher? Within the conservative movement, the ruling on the books is that all gelatin is kosher, regardless of from where it comes. He did this based on the manufacturing and the Talmud. So the question was, food manufacturing has changed a lot since the 1950s, but has it changed for gelatin such that the ruling would now be different and less permissible? I'm just going to tell you that oddly, the manufacturing of gelatin has not changed in 70 years. It is still the same product, and therefore still permissible. Here's why I'm telling you this today, because Shavu'ot is on Tuesday night. Shavu'ot is the holiday that over time came to be associated with the receiving of Torah. But the receiving of Torah is hardly the receiving of the scrolls that are in this ark. It is far more than that. The receiving of Torah is the receiving of a blueprint with which we are to consistently, based on the information, the relationships, the sociology, our understanding of the world, confront life's challenges with Torah, a Torah that is always incomplete. It is always incomplete. That Torah cannot anticipate tomorrow. It could not anticipate this morning. It can simply be used as a tool for confronting tomorrow when it happens. Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, in his monumental work called Torah Min HaShamayim, wrote, "The giving of the written Torah," that's in the ark, "is the beginning, not the end of Torah. Had the Torah been given cut and dry, we would have no leg to stand on. Without sages," he said, "without people to interpret the Torah based on the life they are living, the era they are living, there would be no Torah. There are those who said the ancients had no monopoly on wisdom, nor are all of their successors inept. Some matters were revealed to the successors of our earliest sages that were not known to the sages themselves. And the latter ones, we, all of us here who access those 5 books in the ark, we can innovate in ways that our ancestors could never have imagined. Xenotransplantation, lab-grown milk, because the innovations did not exist, or the conditions did not exist in their time. On Tuesday night, look, you know how at Addis, we really blow up Yom Kippur and Purim. Like, we know how to do big holidays and like really pull the most out of them. Shavuot is one of the sweetest holidays of the year in this space. It's quiet, thoughtful. I mean, they're all thoughtful, but it's quiet and thoughtful. That's unusual for Addis. It's quiet, thoughtful, introspective, and deeply nourishing. On Tuesday night, we're inviting a sculptor, Bart Rubenstein, a climate entrepreneur, Alex Lasky, an author, Liz Shire, and a doctor, Stephanie Wethington, to reflect on their own partnering and ongoing work of creation, of adding to Torah, of what it means to be a creator of something incomplete at all times, but looking towards a future that sometimes we can predict, but usually catches us off guard. On Shavuot, the night in which we celebrate the giving and receiving of Torah, we receive blank pages, and each new day and each new discovery, each new human will demand that we fill in those pages with something thoughtful, layered, and ready to confront what might be next. On Shavuot, we celebrate the receiving of a blueprint, and we commit to build that sacred edifice from it. So join us and know that you are not simply interacting with Torah, you are a part of the unfolding of Torah, and it matters a lot. Shabbat Shalom.